Hello, welcome to the student walkthrough video for Paper 1, Question 2a. In this video, we are going to be focusing on Question 2a, looking at how the question is constructed, how to answer the question, and tips on what makes a good answer. We have other videos available which will guide you through the whole paper. There are also videos so that you can work through each question in detail. Question 2a will ask you to explain how two sources are useful for a specific inquiry. It is worth 8 marks. We advise that you spend 15 minutes answering this question, and that includes up to 3 minutes for thinking, planning time. If you get extra time in the exam, we advise that you spend 19 minutes answering this question. You must write about both sources. You do not need to compare the sources or say which one is most useful. Today we are going to look at this question from the Medicine in Britain paper. How useful are sources A and B for an inquiry into the work of medical staff in the casualty clearing stations on the Western Front? The question will ask you to explain how two sources are useful for an inquiry. You must focus on the inquiry in the question. And you can see here we have underlined in blue for you the focus of this inquiry, the work of medical staff in the casualty clearing stations. Take up to 3 minutes to plan your answer. Annotate both sources. Here we have some examples of source utility questions on the other papers. We've got an example here from the Crime and Punishment paper, the Warfare paper, and the Migrants in Britain paper. And again, we've used blue to underline and highlight for you the focus of the inquiry for each question. So how should you answer the source utility question? We're going to go back and think about our question on the Medicine in Britain paper, looking at the work of medical staff in the casualty clearing stations. For each source, you should try to use the content. So think about what information the source gives us about the focus of the inquiry and how does this make the source useful. You should also try to use the provenance. This can include the nature of the source, or its origin, or its purpose, and go on to explain how does this make the source useful for the inquiry. It is important to add some of your own knowledge to support your explanation. Remember to write about both sources. The easiest way to do this is to write a paragraph for each source. So what is your examiner looking for in your answer to the source utility question? Here we have a paragraph that explains how source A is useful for the inquiry of the work of medical staff in a casualty clearing station. Read this answer carefully. You will see that the candidate has explained how the source is useful using the content and the provenance. And they've developed their answer with their own contextual knowledge. So what makes a good answer? You can start each paragraph with a direct focus on the question. Use details from the content of the source and explain how this information is useful for the inquiry. Use the provenance to explain how the source is useful or not for the inquiry. And don't forget to use your knowledge to show that the source is correct or to explain your argument further. That brings us to the end of this walkthrough video. In this video, we have looked at how you should answer question 2a on paper 1 of your GCSE History exam. We hope you have found it useful. Remember that we have videos for every question on each paper available. You can also find more information for students on our website in the course materials section. Have a look under the heading Student Support.